And we will take these 3 points as a part or as a start point of our discussion. First of all, Andreas reflect on his experience as a businessman, because he was working before with academia and then he turned to a businessman. And actually, this is something important here for Europe, because here, if you read different calls in EU, they encourage us as academic people in order to work not only with business, not to be partner with business, but to start our business project, to start our startup by ourselves. And there is even websites that EU made that measure the capacity of different universities by answering some questions. And one of these questions, or some of these questions, mainly to measure, does your university allow you to work or to use some of your work hour in order to establish a business for yourself? So I think this is sort of one of the, not high priority, but something that EU would like to go. And this is this is the first part of the interview, just to reflect on the experience of Andreas. The second point that he highlighted about our education, he says that we can't build or we can teach innovation. But actually, I myself disagree a bit with him, because we can, and maybe Milena can agree or disagree with me about this, from the philosophical point of view, that we can help a student to discover themselves. So as he said that if you are focusing, and this is the third part or the third point of his interview, that as university, we should be the leading. We should lead our society to be more sustainable. But to do so, we should go outside from our classical way of teaching. So not just one topic. So to lead the students to explore themselves, we need to add this layer of multidisciplinary courses. So you can teach one focus course, for example, about geochemistry. But on this layer, you can give other things to students, like some skills to students in order to discover themselves, in order to link them to industry. Even he highlight some example about different universities, how they are doing this well, like try to make an open environment internship, try to train students with business sector or bring business sector into academia. And I think yesterday in Sabina interview and the discussion, I think we are doing that, right? So I can see Chabi has a question, so we can start the discussion now.
Okay, I have a comment here, because it's when we talk about all this, you cannot teach entrepreneurship or you cannot teach innovation. But I think that's the first biggest problem. You can teach innovation, you can teach entrepreneurship, because research is nothing more than innovation. So we're teaching people how to innovate in the field of research. And we actually create whole new proposals on things we don't know, saying we will know what we don't know. And to know what I don't know, I know that I will know this. It's sort of, it always has this bold part that then he was also talking about, that you have to risk it, and you may end up being bankrupt. And he was talking how he wasn't bankrupt. So it's just, I think that in academia, we are somehow closed into ourselves, that we know what we do what we know. And if someone comes and how can I make a business out of it? We don't know. And I agree that we should have a kind of open arena where people could actually play without getting hurt. Like with the bikes, you can put the extra wheels when you're a kid. But at the same time, we could have business people explaining how did they get into this success. We could dissect what made them make it. It would be good to know the ones that didn't make it, but of course those ones are more difficult to get hold of because you never hear of them. But you can teach innovation. There are some patterns in everything we do. And whatever you measure success as, it can be, if it can be measured, if it can be somehow quantified, it can be studied and or replicated to a certain extent. So that was my biggest disagreement there.
Yeah. For myself, I completely agree with you, Shabi, and I said that I disagree with him because I think we do innovation, we can teach it, but I think he maybe missed the word. I don't think he was meaning innovation. I think he was meaning motivation. We can't teach students how to be motivated, but we can teach them how they can be can explore themselves. I don't know if some of you agree or disagree. Yeah, please, Milia.
Yeah, from what I agree with you that he was talking more about motivation and also attitudes towards risk. And then his solution was like that. Okay, maybe we cannot change people's attitudes towards risk. There are some people that will not want to take so high risks. But the solution was creating safe spaces or semi-safe spaces for try and failure.
Yep. And just to follow up, this will be the topic of the third lecture today. So we will give an example in the third lecture today, how one of the universities in US try to make this space for students to fail. So they put students to experiment, they give them money, and then hopefully they will be succeeded or not. So this will be the topic of the third interview today. Yes. Sabina or Christina, do you have any comments or so?
Just what he was mentioning about the fact that the universities are centered on well, producing graduates, kind of like a factory, which in a sense is true.
Yeah, I of course I completely agree with him. Yeah.
And the thing about skills, but what he was saying is that skills and knowledge don't matter. It's the entrepreneurial mindset. But I don't completely agree because you do, if you want the students to create an entrepreneur, it's hard to create an entrepreneurial mindset. That's the way a person, it kind of is something that needs to start at a younger age than when they're in university. You can help by developing activities, events that can, help them think that maybe they can do this. Like he said that he had always had ideas, but he never thought to start his own business. Well, putting students in situations where that they can think, oh, look, I have an idea, maybe it can be a business. But if you don't also teach them the skills that they need, they're not going to be, just because you've got the mindset of an entrepreneur, if you don't have the skills and you don't have the support, I mean, that's something that universities can develop, and that'll increase the chances of success. But yeah, you do have to find some way to try and foster the entrepreneurial mindset if you can, but definitely to bring it out in students that already have it and make them aware that, oh, I can do entrepreneurship. I can create a business. I can start.
Yep. Yeah. And actually, this is something we have Shabi.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that, that Christina was saying. There is another point here, which is all of us need a job. All of us need a salary. And something we're thinking that to be an entrepreneur, to start your own company, you need to have this fire within you. Your fire can be just economical. And plenty of the businesses that are nowadays, it's not that I was looking forward to having my own store of X service. is that, well, I had access to these goods and I could sell them. I wasn't crazy about it. I'm not in love with this. It's paying my bills, and it's been a family business for the last 50 years. I'm happy enough. There is this, what I think is a misconception between doing something that makes you happy, and then you have the corollary of you will never have to work, which I think is a big lie. You will have to work anyway. You'll just like it more. And you do whatever that gives you money, and hopefully it makes you happy. I think it's not always that you can follow your passion and you make a business out of your passion. So I think it's a problem of mindset there, that we think that there is capacity for entrepreneurship. You need the push, and of course the passion is the best push. But I mean, when you're out of university and you have no job because the job prospects are bad when you're out of university, then if you know that you can do this or that, or how to structure your mind, you may have a new explosion of entrepreneurs.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, here at the University of Alicante, my colleagues in the Employment Center mentioned to me a few years ago that they both had development of activities to support entrepreneurship and an interest in the students and the teachers in entrepreneurship and starting business ideas. A lot more people participating in these activities after the crisis in 2008, 2009. There were no jobs available. And so there was probably just as much fear or reticence about starting up your own business as there was before, but it was like, well, I don't have any other possibilities. And also more support from families. Because a lot of families, especially here in Spain, in the southern Spain, with more of a traditional structure, and you still have a lot of people with the mindset of the civil servant. You know, you have a lot of parents that are pushing their kids to get a job with the government and be set for life and have their 8 to 3 job and that's it. And that definitely kills an innovation. And so somebody who wanted to start up a business was considered to be a bit crazy. But with the economic situation, it was like, well, yeah,
Why not?
Why not try?
Why
It's
not?
not like you've got any other options.
Yeah. In a way, we are sitting at home, so start business.
But it becomes another, for many, it becomes another job option. There are many degrees that instead of looking to work for someone else, they set up their own little company. But it's like, whether it's IT, computer engineers, something to create websites, people who study nutrition, becoming self-employed nutritionists and things like that. But it's not exactly the same. I don't know if it's not exactly innovation. It's not the next big idea. It's not necessarily innovative thinking. It's just, well, I'm going to do my regular job, but instead of working for someone else, I work for myself. So I don't know.
Yeah. Not innovation, but my business.
Not every business
That's
that started
right.
is an innovative business.
That was very, very interesting. Can we? Do we have time to follow up on?
Yeah, please go ahead.
That you are dividing two things here. Like startups are one thing, innovation is another thing. There are many things that binds research and business together through the innovation pillar here, and that is not the business in itself or the implementation, but is the entrepreneurial mindset or mind, this curiosity driven attitude, risk taking and attitude, and if I think of the example of philosophers, that's what you need to be a good philosopher, to have this entrepreneurial mindset, to think out of the box. But then when it comes with the relation to the startup pillar, or to then things get very blocked, because there is a lot of like skepticism, like business has a lot of like ethical issues there that need to be criticized instead of embraced. So it's a more critical attitude towards the market, but the entrepreneurial mindset, the innovation, thinking out of the box, curiosity driven is there. So this doesn't exactly solve the problem of linking higher
To them.
education to the actual job market. Though we can see that universities are doing perhaps a good job in sustaining entrepreneurial minds.
Yeah,
I
but
like this.
you think this is will not help how we can connect with the business?
I think we should find a way, of course, because that's a must. There is just no place for everyone to work in academia. But what I found interesting was this division that Christina made. That it's not because it's a startup that there is innovation there. And
It's
there are
not
two
such
things
a
here.
division. Yeah, it's not such a, there's a it's division in some cases. So yeah, because it depends on the quality of the startup, what they're looking for. In some cases, a startup or a business is simply going to be like a little level up from a person who's self-employed.
Yeah.
Instead of being self-employed because of tax situations or whatever, they create a business and employ themselves.
Yeah.
And not necessarily have with innovation, because there are a number of jobs, of professions that you can work self-employed as consultants, as translators, as especially in IT and everything. But because of the legal framework in a country, being self-employed can be extremely expensive. And for tax, I mean, Spain is a nightmare being self-employed. And for tax reasons, I mean, if you've got good advisors or everything, and for tax reasons, it could be a lot more interesting to set up a small company with one employee yourself. And maybe it grows or whatever or not. So that level of entrepreneurship, in my point of view, is not necessarily related to innovation. But then, yes, you, and so those are students who are just going to need help on basic business skills and knowing how to create their business or whatever. Then you're going to have the other students that are innovative students and have innovative business ideas. And that's where you're going to get the interesting startups. And that's where you're going to get maybe the elements that are going to be more impressive, bring more to the economy, that can maybe be the next big thing that can grow and create more jobs and everything. In terms of the professors, they say the academics and business, in their case, I would disagree by saying they have an entrepreneurial mindset. I would say in a lot of cases, innovation, yes, because they make discoveries and they exploit they have patents that things can become businesses. But very, very few academics have an entrepreneurial mindset and can create a business. We've seen here at the University of Alicante with the spin-offs that we have we have a very successful business center and support system for spin-offs at the University of Alicante. The ones that are most successful are the ones where the researchers take a step back, or they bring in somebody else to handle more of the business side and everything. They make sure that if they're still highly involved in the development of the business or everything, they've got a counterpart who knows all the business side of everything, and they continue with the developing of the science and what they've developed, the patent, the technique, the technology that they've done, keep developing the applications and everything. But for the spin-offs that survive, they bring in to the team people with the business skills and mindset.
Okay, this is interesting.
And some academics even just completely step back. They say, okay, release it. And I said, I just want to go work in my lab. It's great. I had this idea. It works. You guys take it, run and do something with it.
Yeah, but see, can I just say something? The entrepreneurial mind that I was talking about here was not related to business, was related to curiosity, related to like discovering something new, thinking outside the box. And this is the
Innovation.
the qualities that we need for a good research that will actually bring innovation. But one of the barriers that I think that there is in academia for connecting this kind of entrepreneurship with an actual business idea is this skepticism about business. Like there was a case, a recent case of a professor that left the job to start a whole company, and this was seen as a like failure, like failure in the career to shift from a professor job to the market. And this was in the pharmaceuticals, and she actually ended up much better off because she, financially at least, and also she had much more freedom to do research because she was not dependent on applying for funding for the Norwegian Research Council every year, getting a lot of rejections. So she had a lot of freedom to develop the research in the private sector.
I
In
have,
her
I
own
have
company.
several friends who left research and went into the private sector. Not a
Yeah.
single one of them regrets it.
Regrets? No.
None.
No.
None. But you're talking about the innovation and developing mindset. It just swings me back to developing our students and everything. And
Yeah.
you know how it is in other countries, but I think in too many places, when you've got students coming in to do a bachelor's thesis or a master's thesis, I think in a way we're crushing a bit innovation there, because I've seen in many places that instead of encouraging the students to come up with a research question or something that they're interested in, really interested in going for it, in way too many degrees, it's just that, okay, these are the areas that, I mean, and that's understandable because it's less work for the supervisors. These are the areas the supervisors are working on. Choose one of these topics out of a list, and you're not in those conditions, you're not fostering those skills of that curiosity and that way to think outside the box and look for something that's innovative. So already at that level as well, if we're talking about creating future researchers, or even, you know, future people idea who want to foster creativity and help develop, even if they don't go into research afterwards, that's one level where maybe academia could intervene and stop, you know, trying to guide the students into very predefined topics for their research papers.
I agree.
Mm.
I agree, and perhaps this should start very early. Right now, at least here in the environments that I know, the research part starts later at the master's degree. So at the bachelor is only like learning methodology, learning theory. And once you internalize a methodology, it already restricts a lot your possibility of innovation. Is the methodology of a discipline that restricts you into a certain box.
In a box.
Yeah, perhaps what you were saying, Christina, is important at the bachelor degree. Like very early initiation to research and innovation.
I
Something
can
like that.
give, and I mean, I think that within courses, because we're talking about how to involve also innovative thinking and creativity within classes.
Yeah.
This can start in just about any class as well, with the activities you give students by providing completely out of the top projects, you know, just some things that open their mind. For example, so back when I lived in Belgium, I taught for a year and a half at the language school at the University of Liège in Belgium, and we did I taught scientific English. So I was teaching English at the bachelor's level for first, second, third year students in different science degrees. And the curriculum that we had developed with this course included, well, as well as improving their English skills and et cetera, the grammar, vocabulary, et cetera, you know, aimed at science. They had some very interesting activities that we incorporated into the classes to help the students develop other skills that they weren't getting elsewhere. And these were related to public speaking and learning how to write properly, and not write in English, but just, you know, write a cohesive text or to present your ideas. And at least for the first year students, because they had, depending on the degree, they had English for 3 years or 2 years in the degree. And for the first year students, to help them relax and everything, the propositions were kind of out of over the top crazy. Once you got into second, third year, it was more scientific, more strict to really, develop skills to write an abstract, to present a scientific work. But at the beginning, it was activities aimed at letting their imagination fly. Like, for example, the groups had to do, okay, for the first group presentation, welcome to the Mad Scientist Conference. Present your latest invention. And some of the students went all out. They just let fly their imagination, and they were completely relaxed and okay with speaking and just thinking of these crazy ideas that, are literally impossible, but they're like, that would be cool if that could happen. It inspired their innovation. And another one they had wasn't as science related, but it was more in terms for like the geography and geology students, was another project they had to present was, you work at an intergalactic travel agency, try to sell somebody on a vacation to some, other place, moons of Jupiter, the rings of Saturn, whatever you want. And it was the same thing. We're going to have to imagine this whole concept of this world where they could go and do things, and really putting in, and it was done in this way to get them, their creative juices flowing, but also to not have them stress out about doing a serious presentation and maybe sounding funny or whatever, because the whole purpose was also, that the whole concept was a bit ridiculous, so it helped them to relax. But one of the side effects we saw was this fact that they really enjoyed stretching their imagination and being creative. And so that is something that could be incorporated in different courses, levels, or whatever, things that help students, further develop their creativity, because creativity, imagination is like a muscle, like any other. If you don't use it, you lose it.
I just want to add to that, Christina, because I have used that approach in lectures with bachelor students when we talk about ecosystem management. And as anything, when you come to management, there is no right or wrong response. There is just the best possible response to the knowledge you have in the moment. So I've been doing that with the bachelor students now for 2 years. Just put them a case study. This year it was a salmon farm, and ask them, how would you solve this issue? And then I would have different groups of students, being manager, the businessman, the local people, different options. And when you make a clear distinction of there is no right or wrong answer here, I just want you to go wild and try to poke holes in the other theories, and just not be polite to each other. Don't be evil either, but you don't need to be polite, and you don't need to think for the best of everyone. Try to find compromises. And as you said, they liked it a lot. We ended up suggesting that the best solution would be to have a big kind of swimming pool in the middle of of the mountain, with a small nuclear power plant to provide with energy, and then the waste,
because
of course,
a non-heated pool in Norway.
And then we would use the waste from the fish farm to send it to the agricultural fields, so we would reduce the need for fertilizers, and then the feed from those would be used for cows that would actually revert into society due to cheaper production of meat in northern Norway. Of course, it's completely impossible, it's illogical, but seeing how they actually started looking for options. Is it possible to have salmon farming on land? Actually, it is possible, and they were showing examples. And why is it more economically viable if you do it this way? And then what's the answer is irrelevant. The process is the important thing.
Yeah, creates a creative way of thinking. Yeah.
So I think we have the option to do it without changing the courses, without making big adaptations to what we're teaching. It's just to give them small outlets.
Exactly.
And in the end, this is the basis of science. It's what's the next wild idea you can think of that is actually feasible?
What sparks your curiosity? I mean, with the students, there's so much emphasis on applied research or continuing lines of research that someone else is developing or integrating into a group. But to find the next big thing or to make the next big discovery or the protection, most of these have come out also through just basic curiosity. I wonder what happens if I do this, or what does this look like over there? And they're like, ooh, that's cool. And that is kind of being squashed.
philosophy degree is all about creating these radically hypothetical, absurd scenarios, and then trying to find a solution where there is none. So it's all about that. But what it's becoming more difficult is to engage students in that. It sounds really nice and a funny way of teaching and learning, but at the same point, the students are very occupied with what is going to be in the exam, how they are going to pass the course, how many credits they will have, and this kills a lot. This drive for creativity. For the creativity, it sometimes leads you nowhere. It's just as you mentioned, an exercise, but leads you nowhere.
This is why courses need to be designed with, in terms of the credits and the score, being received in part for work done in class and for forms and for evaluation. And you do have ways of evaluating these things without giving a score. It's the, in our case, for example, because it is formulated in an English course, they were being evaluated by, you know, quality of the language, richness of the language, fluidity and everything, but also for how well they presented their ideas. If they explained it, if it was coherent, it was logical. I remember because when I started teaching that course, I was covering the maternity leave of another professor, and her background, she was an English professor, but her background was journalism, and she didn't get science at all. So teaching scientific English was, and the first presentations the students did, I shocked them because I'm like, no, what you just told me is completely scientifically impossible. You basically figure that since the teacher doesn't understand science, you could just, you know, change the laws of physics. It's like, yeah, you know, we want to be rigorous. I'm not exactly asking you to do this whole thing, but you can't say that, you know, if you plug a battery in backwards, it's going to work. Something like that. And they're like, oh shit, we actually have to think. I was like, yeah, you have to think. But there's if you incorporate activities like this and you tell them that you're going to get marked on it for how well they, but you don't, but it's like Xavi says, you make sure they understand there's not a right or wrong answer, but it's how they do it. It's how they work as a team. It's how they debate, if they've participated, if their ideas were coherent, if they're clear, if they could present them well, and basically, and you have to realize that you are going to have part of your grade that is going to be, because you can't evaluate every person individually. You have a 5-person group and they're going to get the same score. But unless you want to develop some kind of a system where you can see, yeah, I can say you did all the work and you didn't, so you get +1, they get minus, but I don't know, but usually it's the same score for everyone. But you just take that into account into the percentage of what that counts for in your course. But no, if they do if you're right, they're all focused on exams and exercises and what's going to be in the tests and everything. So you need to pull it out of it. You need to make sure that part of your grade comes from this coursework that you do. The same thing as you have your labs that you turn, at least in biology. We had labs every week. We had to turn in the lab reports and projects and etc. Well, the same as you've got those, you've got projects that you have to present in class and work on them. And you get a score for that. You get a 1 point for doing this. You get another point. I mean,
yeah, it's creating this alignment that we are going to be talking after.
Yes.
And this would require changing or modifying the ways,
modifying the curriculum in a sense,
yeah,
modifying the course,
curriculum and the ways of
change
evaluating.
the grading, to change some of the activities you do, to change some of the methodology, and to change the grading scheme.
Yeah.
No, I think this is an interesting discussion. I am very happy for one simple reason, because you jumped already to the conclusion of the day. So actually the conclusion of the day, which will be after 1:30 or so, mainly about to figure out point in order to attach it to our normal courses. As you said, it would be difficult to start from scratch, but it would be easy to use existing courses, existing material, and start to attach this layer of creativity, this layer of how to make our students discover themselves. And the second part of this discussion, you already start to discuss it, how we can make this constructive alignment for the course that you will work on it during the next 3-4 weeks. This is great. So I think I or suggest to have like lunch break. And after the lunch break, we will have two interviews. One very short one, 10 minutes, and then another one a bit long, like 45 minutes. And this long one is the example from US, how the university start to change the attitude of the students somehow. And after that, we will have like 1 hour discussion of what is the next step, how we can make this constructive alignment, and we conclude the day. So I assume that we will finish today maybe around 2:30 or so, something around that. Great. So should we be back here at like yesterday, 12:40? So we'll have something like 50-minute break, and then we'll start the second part. Yep. So see you in 50 minutes. Bye-bye.